Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 34 / chase race number 8 of Season 5 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to Denver Motorsports Park for the Monster Energy Drink Challenge here at the Roval portion of Denver Motorsports Park. We came here at the regular racetrack earlier this season, and it was a pretty good race, and we're definitely going to be coming back to that next season. But how will the Roval at this track go? Well, we're about to find out here momentarily. 7 laps. It's going to take them about 2 minutes to get around this place. But before we take a look at the starting lineup, we got to take a look at the chase standings. So after last week at Texas, Dylan Jacobs' points lead extended to 28 points now over Jake Rogers, 32 over Paul Minnick, and 34 over Chris Dollarton. Then the gap between 4th and 5th grew. 83 points back in 5th is James McLeod. 90 back is Alex Drayton. 93 back is Benjamin Miles. 107 back Carson Gum. 112 back Joshua Collard. And then 114 back is Kyle Matthews. So virtually Carson, Collard, and Matthews are pretty much done for the championship, because I don't see them making up any more ground going into these final 3 races. The long shots are the ones above them, like Miles, Drayton, and McLeod. Realistically, right now it's between the top 4. But since Dylan Jacobs is on the pole for today, if he could somehow win this race and hope that everyone behind him in points doesn't run all that well, he could have the championship locked up by the time we get to California next week. But we're not going to make any assumptions just yet. We still got this race to do. But let's take a look at the starting lineup. Starting in the last row is Charles Sanford and Dylan Young. As far as where the chasers are starting, Kyle Matthews is starting 37th. Benjamin Miles 30th. Carson Gump 28th. James McLeod 25th. Paul Minnick 24th. Chris Dollarton 23rd. Joshua Collard 14th. And then the top 10, Dylan Jacobs, his second pole this season, starting next to him, is Alex Drayton. Row 2, Emmanuel Hartnett, James Shelley. Row 3, Jake Rogers and Cody Lamas. Row 4, Zachary Fitzwater, Seth Cole. And then row 5, Jake Baskinger and Trent Dunham. But let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the Monster Energy Drink Challenge at Denver Motorsports Park, Roval.
Drivers, start your engines.
So it's going to be 7 laps, less than 2 minutes per lap. So it'll probably take around 14-15 minutes depending on what's going to happen here. But yeah, this is going to be quite an interesting race because of all the turns you got to go through. As the pace car pulls in the pit road, and you all know what time it is? That is right. It is time to boogity 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 go Roval racing. Lap 1 completed. Dylan Jacobs led that lap and right now has a little over an 0.8 of a second lead over second place right now being Emmanuel Hartnett. But let's look around and see if everyone's still on track, and it looks like everyone is still on track. Towards the back here, there's some good racing going on. Jessica Shelton just went by Matt McIntyre. Closest battle as far as up at the front goes. There was a little bit of a battle going on right there for the 4th position. Jake Rogers had his fender underneath the quarter panel of Zachary Fitzwater, but Rogers couldn't quite make it stick right there. But yeah, while Dylan Jacobs has the lead, yeah, you can tell he doesn't have a monumental lead because of how whenever you get onto the regular portion of the racetrack, outside of the Roval part, drivers can really get a run on you and make almost like a draft effect and catch up to the rear end of the driver in front of you. And we're about ready to get back onto the actual track here in just a moment, and there they go. So let's watch Hartnett, who's kind of closed in a little bit on the 78, and let's see how quick he can maybe catch up to him or end up losing time. Also, Alex Drayton's trying to reel in Hartnett, and that would be for second if the 14 can get to the back bumper of the 20. Through the front stretch chicane right there. And let's just see the margin between the top two now. Was over 0.8, now it's 3/4 of a second. So Hartnett gained a little bit of ground, but look at Alex Drayton. He got a huge run on the 20. He's going to get the advantage coming off of turn 2 and entering the Roval. Let's see what happens. Can the 14 clear the 20? No, the 20 actually gets the run, but they're still side by side. But let's see if the 14 clears him now. And he does, as the 20 actually overdrove that corner a little bit. And now he's got Zachary Fitzwater reeling into his back bumper. Meanwhile, back here, there's a battle going on for the 6th position between James Shelley and Jake Baskinger. And Shelley is going to keep the spot, and that brings in Sean Galligan into the picture. So there is some good racing up here in the top 10, but very little going on right now. But as far as I know, all 40 drivers that started are still on the racetrack. Right now, Alex Drayton, who started second, is back up to second after passing Emmanuel Hartnett off of turn 2 going into the Roval. But right now, Dylan Jacobs still leads the way. As we come through the front stretch chicane, let's see the margin this time. I wonder if it's grown or shrunk, or why not nothing. Let's just see. Yeah, in fact, the margin has shrunk a little bit to about 6.5 now between the 78 and the 14. But we'll see how things play out as this race progresses. As we enter back into the Roval. And yeah, you can tell Drayton is closing in a little bit on the 78. It's just a matter of if he hopes the 78 can screw up a little bit and then capitalize on that. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see how things work out. Closest battle going on the racetrack as far as side-by-side goes, if there even is any. Right here, Jessica Shelton, Dougie Shears. This is towards the back of the field. Shelton, is she going to be able to get around the 83? Still side by side, but now it's now it's still side by side again as they enter the S's. Wow, Shelton tried to come up in front of Shears right there, but now finally does. So Shelton passes Shears for a spot. Meanwhile, back up at the front of the field, back onto the actual racetrack. But yeah, you can tell Alex Drayton definitely has a pretty good race car. And yeah, look at the amount of time he closed in right there, going into the chicane on the front stretch. But we're pretty much now halfway through this race, and the margin is now 4.5 tenths between the 78 and the 14. If the 14 continues at the pace he's going, he could be a challenger for the race win. Still plenty of time for the 14 to make some magic happen as we enter into the Roval once again. Meanwhile, look at this little hornet's nest back here. This is a three-way battle for the 6th position. Jake Baskinger has the spot, but whoa, Shelley! James Shelley just lost a lot of positions. Well, actually, realistically, he only lost one. But on the verge of losing another, as Cody Lamas, who has been on a roll in recent races, who actually moved back into the top 30 in points, back up to 29th after last week at Texas. Came close to winning at Texas, as a matter of fact. Right now having a good run up here. Right now would be an 8th, I would assume. Meanwhile, back up here at the front, however, the lead that Dylan Jacobs has continuing to shrink a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see whenever we get to the front stretch chicane if the 14 can close in on the 78 again. It's going to be interesting, though, to see how this is all going to play out. Let's see, into the chicane again, and it's roughly the same margin, maybe a little bit smaller. Let's see here at the line. It was 4.5 tenths. Now it's a little over 3.5 tenths. So Drayton definitely has something for the 78. He's just going to have to really hope the 78 makes a mistake if he's going to capitalize on this victory. Well, I guess I couldn't say victory, but capitalize on taking the race lead. But yeah, right there, Drayton actually got close to the back bumper because of the draft effect on the actual racetrack. Was able to close in, but now we're back onto the Roval, and Drayton actually kind of got a little bit loose right there, but he's still keeping pace. Meanwhile, we might have a battle for third ensue. Emmanuel Hartnett has that spot, but Fitzwater wants it. As meanwhile, look at this little battle going on for 5th. Jake Rogers trying to hold off Jake Baskinger and Sean Galligan right now. But the next time we come to the line, it's going to be 1 to go here at the Denver Roval. As we're keeping an eye on these top 2 right now, Jacobs and Drayton, and even Hartnett's kind of closing in on the 14 a little bit for himself. And now we get back onto the actual racetrack. We'll see if a draft push from the 20 is going to help the 14 out a little bit. Maybe, maybe not. But we're getting ready to come to the front stretch and enter that chicane. This has been the spot where the 14's gained the most ground on the 78. And yeah, you can definitely tell he got a little bit of speed right there, but I don't know. We'll see the margin as the white flag is going to be displayed. White flag, 1 to go. Margin now actually grew just a tad, so it's now 4 tenths between Jacobs and Drayton, and then 4.5 tenths from Drayton back to Hartnett, and then Fitzwater's not too far behind. Right there was a little battle between Dylan Thoreau and Trent Dunham. That was for a spot just outside the top 10. As meanwhile, Drayton actually got through that corner really good, and I think right there, just a tad, the 78 got a little bit wobbly right there, but he managed to keep it together and is still going strong. It's like right around here at the part of the Roval, everyone gets closed up, or everyone closes up so closely right there in that one portion of the Roval that we just gone through. And now we just gone by the S's. But yeah, all Dylan Jacobs has got to do is just keep his car on the racetrack and not overdrive a corner, and he's going to have his third win of the season and potentially a locked-up championship. I don't know. We'll see about that whenever we get to the point standings at the end of the race. But now we're back onto the actual racetrack. Final opportunity for Alex Drayton to make something happen, but he needs to get that suck up to the back bumper of the 78 or hope the 20 can push him, or at least give him an aero push, as we're now coming to the front stretch chicane. But I don't think anybody's going to be a challenger to the 78 as we're coming. Whoa, he kind of overdrove it a little bit there, but he's going to steal it though. Checkered flag waving. Dylan Jacobs wins the Monster Energy Drink Challenge at the Denver Roval. Dominating fashion for the 78 team. This is his third win of the season. All three of his wins have come on road courses, so he's definitely a great road course ringer here. But will that clinch him the championship? That's the question. I don't know. I mean, we still got 2 races left, and we'll see how things play out. But let's take a look at the rest of the results. Alex Drayton with a great run in the second position. He had an opportunity to really make some magic happen, but just didn't quite have the race car to challenge the 78 at the end. Emmanuel Hardinet with a great run in the third position. Zachary Fitzwater came through with a solid performance in fourth, and then Jake Rogers rounding out the top 5 and fifth. Sean Galligan with a great run in the 6th position. Jake Baskinger, 7th place run. Cody Lamas, another top 10 for him in the 8th spot. Tim Fiegel with a great run in 9th. And then Anthony McCrory rounding out the top 10. Then there's the rest of your top 20, top 30, and then the rest of the field. And the bottom 5 for this week was Patrick Smith, Dylan Young, Jay Jefferson, Joshua Sekuli, and Charles Sanford. And that does it for our coverage here today at the Denver Roval. And this was despite a domination race, this racetrack, depending on what changes can be made, we may come back here next season. But we got 2 races left, California next, and then Kansas. But California's next, and until we get to that race, here are your results, rookie points and regular points heading into California. And this is Levi McIntyre signing off.